afternoon, everybody. Welcome. It's Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon.
How have we got to Monday already? It's only just started and we're thinking about the end. It's Monday afternoon. It's Festival Live stage. It's strangely called Happy Hour with Ash.
Is that what it's
So we have to be
called?
happy all the way through. We have to smile at all times.
I'm good
all
at
is
that.
good.
I'm good at smiling.
Are
I can
you?
do that. Yeah.
Good.
You've hired the right person for
Hired
this.
the right person for the Smiley Hour. The Smiley Hour with Holly.
Yes, happy Holly.
Folk are gathering with us online. This is an opportunity really to meet some of the folk who are around on site with us. We've done a couple of days of talking to lots of people. We've tried to give all our guests time just to hear a little bit about them, what they're doing, their ministries. So that's what we're going to do. We've got about 10 minutes.
Fantastic.
To just get into. So we need to go.
Sounds wonderful.
So Holly, just tell us a little bit about you before we get into ministry. Who is Holly Adams?
Who is Holly Adams? Well, I am a layperson that lives in Kent, just outside Canterbury, and it's my deep joy to work for the Methodist Church in the Evangelism and Growth team. And that involves, one thing that involves is being on site at amazing events like this.
Great, we love to have you here.
What a privilege.
I know.
I love being here. And I've had a fantastic weekend here in a venue called the Hope and Anchor, which
That
we've
sounds
been
like
running.
a pub.
It's meant to sound a little bit like a pub.
That's good.
Because it encourages real talk. The kinds of conversations you might have around the table with your mates in the pub, that's the kind of conversations we've been having here all weekend in the Hope and Anchor.
That's great. So you work for the Evangelism and Growth team.
I do.
What does that mean in terms of Methodist Church? I'm guessing not everybody who may tune in will be Methodist and understand that. So Evangelism and Growth, what's that, Holly?
Well, we're on a journey in the Methodist Church of equipping the church and deepening our commitment to be a growing, evangelistic, inclusive and justice-seeking church, and recognising those four things as very interconnected parts of one mission. And we have something called the God for All strategy in the Methodist Church, which is the strategy for evangelism and growth. And that is the strategy that I work on delivering.
So the Evangelism and Growth strategy, the God for All strategy, I think we're into about 3.5 years.
Yeah, I think we're just going into our fourth year.
Fourth year, just post-conference will be fourth year.
Yeah.
So that's 4 years. Talking about evangelism, talking about growth, talking about God for all. How's that been?
Oh, well, it's a real privilege to work in that field, Ash, and have those conversations with people about why evangelism is exciting and why evangelism is challenging. So I think some of the highlights for me have been journeying with people who have said, sometimes I journey with groups of people who say at the beginning, evangelism is not for me. I don't feel confident. It doesn't feel authentic to who I am. I don't know how I'm called into evangelism. I don't feel like I've got gifts for evangelism. And then by the end of the journey, you get to this point where people have said, actually, I recognise that I don't have to be Billy Graham to be an evangelist. I can just be myself. And, I've met this amazing woman who she's in her 80s and she'd just been in hospital, and at the beginning of me knowing her, she said, no, evangelism is not something I do. My faith is a private thing. And then she came out of hospital a few weeks later and she said, I shared my faith with the woman in the bed next to me, and I never ever would have thought that I'd be doing that. And how amazing is that we're equipping the whole church, young and old, to be authentic, confident evangelists.
Okay, I absolutely 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
What about the role of the evangelist that we hear about in kind of scripture? Is there still a place for that?
Definitely. And I use this distinction of a little e evangelist and a big e evangelist, just to help me get my head around that. So we're all called into evangelism. Little e evangelism is part of our discipleship. It's connected with our discipleship. But I think there are some people that are called specifically to be to the ministry of evangelism, big E evangelism. And John Wesley, get my Wesleys right, I'll be shocked.
I think they both did.
Yeah, but one of them said, it was John, said, I have an ordinary calling, and he meant into ordained ministry, but my extraordinary calling is into evangelism. So I like to think that some people, we're all exercising our ordinary callings, and we all have an extraordinary calling to something, and for some of us, that's evangelism.
My hope and prayer is over things like Festival, folk begin to hear that extraordinary calling into all kinds of areas of ministry, but some of those folk will be evangelists, and we want to kind of identify, the church needs those folk to identify that calling and really step into it.
And recognising that there's diverse ways that people are called into evangelism like that we're not all called to evangelism in the same way. It looks different for different people, and we've had some great conversations here at Festival this weekend about those kind of vocational conversations about, what do I need? What am I being called into in order to participate in the church of the future?
So talking about conversations.
Yes.
Talk about what have you been doing in Hope and Anchor then? How do you... Real conversations, sometimes it can take 3 or 4 pints in a pub to get into a real, genuine... With folk who are not used to talking.
Yes. No,
how have you created that?
Yeah, I wondered if we could play a little game, actually.
Oh, I don't know.
Which is a game that we've been playing in the Hope and Anchor. So you're right. So sometimes it can be tricky to get into those kinds of conversations. So we've got a number of different little tools that we use to make that happen more easily in the Hope and Anchor. It's an inclusive space where anyone can chat. But this game is called Conversations Against Mundanity.
Mundanity.
Mundanity. You know, defeating mundane small talk. That's the idea.
Okay.
So I've got a question, Ash.
Yep.
That I'm going to ask.
Yep.
And I've got 3 subject cards here.
Okay.
I'm going to give to you.
Okay.
If you can balance them on your little thing.
I've got so many things here.
So many things to hold. The question is, if we weren't afraid of being judged, what would we say about blank? Now, you can read out your 3 subjects, and then you have to pick one, and we have a conversation about it.
Oh. The 3 are...
Yeah.
Seeing other people's approval. Mm-hmm. Telling little lies. Thoughts we've had in church.
So, pick one of those. If we weren't afraid of being judged, what would we say about...
Thoughts we've had in church, I'm going to go with.
I sort of hoped you'd go there.
Oh,
We're on risky ground now.
Okay.
So if we weren't afraid of being judged, what would we say about thoughts we've had in church? One thing I think is sometimes, goodness me, I'm bored.
Well, I think, the bored word is the one that comes first to mind.
Yeah.
But it's also that if I wasn't actually being paid, there's no chance I'd be here.
Wow.
Why?
Yeah.
You just kind of sit there sometimes and think, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This isn't connecting with me at all.
Yeah.
But then I have to step back and go, is that my fault?
Well, exactly. And how do we, what is it in us that needs to change? What is it that we need to do in order to shift that? You know, when we're having those moments where we're thinking, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What is it that God is inviting us to do as a result of that? I wonder. Sometimes I think, you know, how can I shake this up a bit myself, you know?
And sometimes that stir, that dissatisfaction is actually a stir to action.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you often hear, don't you, through the stories through history, it's dissatisfaction that actually stirs someone to make a change and to do something.
Yeah.
Wesley was dissatisfied with the state of the church it was, because it wasn't reaching the people that needed to hear the gospel, the life transforming. It was locked inside its world and its life, and he got out. He was dissatisfied, and however uncomfortable that made him, because he wasn't happy about it.
No.
But that stirring dissatisfaction.
I love that, and what changes when we're out of our comfort zone as well. And I always talk about this with evangelism. Like, actually, so many of us resist evangelistic conversations, resist faith conversations because we're scared. And actually, we're meant to be. Like, getting out of our comfort zone is the place where we grow. And I think sometimes, talking about thoughts we've had in church, we're very much in our comfort zone sometimes, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah.
We are. And again, I often, one of the things I think, even when I lead worship, so even, I'm looking at myself in the midst of this.
Exactly.
Because sometimes I've stood in the middle of worship and gone, it's kind of the line from the song, Tim Hughes' song, there must be more than this.
Yeah.
Is this really what God intended the kingdom, the church to actually be? Because what are we really achieving?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure we both don't think this every Sunday or like all the time.
No.
But occasionally those thoughts occur to us, don't they, about what is it that God is calling us to, and why are we feeling this?
Yeah.
Why are we sitting here thinking, is this it? Like,
is this what Jesus intended when he said, I will build my church? This Sunday I'm studying, I'm thinking, oh, my life, this is pants. And I'm the one leading it. It's like, I've only got myself to blame. Can't blame anybody else.
To blame, exactly. But well done, Ash, you've survived a round of conversations against mundanity.
Horrible.
That's exactly what it's meant to be. We went kind of deep, we went
straight
vulnerable, we went straight in, and it does open up those kinds of spaces.
How do folk at home? So, you've got cards here at Cliff. How do folk at home engage with something like real talk and real conversations?
Absolutely. So I've got my little flyer here.
I was all segued in and everything.
Thank you very much. So one thing we're really encouraging people to do here at Festival, but also people who are watching at home, is to take the real talk home. So real talk is what we do in the Hope and Anchor. Vulnerable, gritty, sacred, silly conversations that change us, that change me, that change our relationships, that nudge us into action. Real talk is something that we can embed in the culture of our church communities, in the culture of our mission, and there's loads of ways to do that. And to find some resources, you just have to visit methodist.org.uk/real talk.
Let's just say that again.
Methodist.org.uk/real talk.
Go and have a look. Take a look. And why not just share on the chat with us, if you're able to or want to, when was the last time you shared a real conversation about your faith with someone? Tell us about that story. I'd love to hear that.
We'd love to hear
so
it.
do, if you just got a chance, you've got to keep it really short and sweet in the chat, but we'd love to read that. And that'll be there then for folk to look at later when they watch this on catch-up as well. So put that in. What's your story? When a real conversation of faith?
And the more that we're able to have these kinds of real conversations about faith, about life, about spirituality, the more we will find ourselves able to have these conversations on the bus, in the queue at Tesco, the more we will find that these
conversations... We won't need the 4 pints to do it.
Exactly. This is all about us reducing the number of pints we need.
That's a very good thing to do. Very good.
About our faith.
Thanks. Holly, thank you so much for taking time to be with us on Festival Live.
Thank you.
Hope you've had a good festival.
A fantastic
Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Very much.
Stay with us. We'll be back in just a second. Hi, well, welcome back to the Marketplace at Festival 23, Eden Restored. Great theme. We've been exploring that in all kinds of ways, creative ways, deep ways, word ways, fun ways, music ways over the last few days. BJ, I'm going to be with you in a minute, BJ, okay? Just hold on 1 second, because a little while ago, I did something I promised to do yesterday, which was to get onto one of our bikes in the Marketplace.
Right. Okay.
But I grabbed one of our young people, Micah, to get on the All We Can bike with me. He got on the front.
Okay.
I got on the back.
Yeah.
I took the back seat of the bike. And right now, you're going to see the All We Can bike with me and Micah on, because we haven't reached quite the top. Where am I? Molly, she's over there in the Marketplace. Molly, where am I on the leaderboard? 41. I am fourth. You believe it?
Wow.
I am fourth on the leaderboard. Me and Micah, we got to, how many miles an hour? 57 miles an hour we got. How many? Kilometres. Sorry. I made myself look better than I actually was. And I think actually Micah did most of the hard work. Hence I went, he wasn't on his own, he was with me. Apparently he did better on his own than with me on the back. But here we go. Here's the shot of me and Micah on the All We Can bike. Here it is. Go, go, go. 41. So that was it. If you're at Festival and not yet been on the All We Can bike, that was your moment to come down and get on the bike. See if you can knock me off fourth place. I don't think Evie's in the Marketplace. I think Evie has just raised a challenge. Evie and Kenzie are now going on the bike. They're going to knock me off fourth place. I don't think it's possible, but we need to get on. Sorry, right, back here. There's lots of stuff going on around us while we have conversation.
So much going on.
So if you're at home, you need to be here. Why not book? You can now book for next year. Bookings are open for 2024 for Festival. Rerouted. Anyway, we're here.
Get involved.
Yeah. BJ, this is your first time at Festival.
This is indeed my first time.
How have you found it?
It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm absolutely loving it. It's such an incredible vibe. There's so much energy, so much excitement, so much joy.
That's amazing. So, BJ, we met for the first time this weekend.
Indeed.
No, that's not true. We met on Zoom.
We met in person.
We met in person for the first time this weekend. We met on Zoom to talk about Festival a few weeks ago. But just for everybody here, because I guess some folk won't have seen you. You've not been a Festival regular.
No.
You're kind of new to the Festival world this year.
Yeah.
Just tell us a bit about BJ before we start talking ministry. Your story, a bit of your background, family, where you come from, and all that.
So I'm a South Londoner. I grew up in Croydon, and that's always been home. I've been part of my local church for 20 years now, which is a local Anglican church in Purley. I've been heavily involved in youth work. Youth work is a real passion of mine. It's the reason why I look so young, but it's also the reason why I probably have more grey hairs than I'm willing to admit.
Children or being a youth worker is what keeps you young.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I've been involved in ministry in a really powerful way since about 2009, where my church gave me the opportunity to go out to Africa on mission.
Okay.
And do some development work in Tanzania And then also went out with my university to do some sports coaching work in Kenya. And as a result of engaging with the communities there and just seeing God move, it's encouraged me to continue along that path, which has led me to where I am in the position I'm in today.
Well, let's start talking about that.
Yes.
So what's your current role?
So I'm currently the chief exec of an organisation called the Ascension Trust, and we're most well known for our initiative, Street Pastors, which has been going for 20 years.
Seriously?
So 2023, on the 18th of April, was the 20th anniversary of the very first Street Pastor Patrol back in 2003.
I remember the kind of early days of Street Pastors, and hearing the early stories of the Street Pastors and the Street Pastor Network birthing and growing. And
Absolutely. So it started in South London with 18 volunteers. 18 Street Pastors went out on that very first night in Brixton, South London. 15 women and 3 men.
You're joking.
And so it always goes to show, if you want to get anything done within the church, ask the women whilst the men are in the church praying about it.
Always, always, always. The action.
20 years later, we have trained over 20,000 people to get involved, not just in Street Pastors, but in a wide variety of different areas of ministry: school pastors, rail pastors, prayer pastors, response pastors, our Synergy Network, our Beacon Project, all about saying, church, be equipped to go out and reach out into your communities.
That's amazing. Just what I've tried to do with some of these conversations, we want these conversations to be real.
Yeah.
We want to find out what really kind of makes you tick. Are there any key stories in that period of time that you could just kind of go, these are the stories that just keep me going? When life's tough and hard, I think about these stories.
Gosh, there are so many stories. So you're going to get a premiere story that I was going to share tonight, but this is an exclusive.
They'll still listen in, I promise you.
Just actually last year, our team in Shrewsbury took their mayor out as an observer to see what's going on. How do our street pastors make an impact? They came across the pub that they walk past every day to say, how's it going? And a young girl was stumbling out of the pub. And then after about a minute, she collapsed on the floor in front of them. It turns out her drink was spiked and she started to have a cardiac arrest. Our street pastors were trained and had a defib in their bag and were able to administer first aid for the paramedics to take away and save this girl's life in front of the mayor of Shrewsbury.
Wow.
And it's just like, you never know what you're going to encounter on a night out. Yeah. But you always know every time you go out, you're going to be needed because God is saying, I'm going to use you.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the mayor of Shrewsbury suddenly became a massive supporter of street pastors.
Absolutely. So one thing about street pastors, it's all about relationship.
Yeah.
We have a model called the Urban Trinity, which means that no street pastor scheme can set up without working in collaboration with their local police and their local council, because we want to say the church, the council and the police need to be working together for the benefit of our community.
Absolutely. Oh, it's amazing. I love the stories of street pastors. My uncle is not actually real uncle, so I'm just being careful. He's kind of closer than some of my uncles were.
Indeed.
A guy named Alan, into his 80s, was a street pastor. Unbelievable.
Our oldest
go out middle of the night.
Our oldest street pastor was 93. And a story, when I joined the organisation, a woman came up to Les, the co-founder at the time, and she was in her 80s. She said, I've been street pastoring for the past 5 years, but I've been going to church my whole life. But the time I started street pastoring was the time that my faith came alive.
Yeah.
And it's opportunities like that where you hear that, and it's just like, oh my word, God, you're incredible.
You're see the kingdom of God, don't you, before your eyes?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And God is saying to our church, I'm not finished with you yet. I'm still working. No matter how young or how old you are, God is saying, I can use you.
Just want to say to Deb or Kirsten, who are my kind of cousins but not, you know, big up Uncle Alan. He was incredible. He's in glory now, but was into his 80s street pastoring.
Amazing.
And just Samaritan street pastoring, doing loads of stuff. Some folk are just made, aren't they, for being there, being alongside people.
Definitely.
And you see the miraculous week in, week out.
100%. And what we say is that you don't have to be a street pastor to actually be involved. We've got teams of people praying for us. We've got teams of prayer pastors who are there saying, actually, do you know what? We want to cover you in prayer. And elements of the prophetic come into that. often our street pastor teams are being told by their prayer pastors back at base, you know what, go down that road that you never go down before.
Yeah.
And street pastors thinking, why? And then they make an encounter, they make an engagement.
It's amazing. Kate Ellis has just put up the website for Street Pastors, the Ascension Trust website.
Amazing.
So that's there for us. So it's all on there. So we've got streetpastors.org is on there, as well as ascensiontrust.org.uk.
That's the one.
On there, so do take a look at both of those. Now, clearly, Ascension Trust is slightly wider than Street Pastors.
Yeah, so like I've mentioned earlier, so we have school pastors, which is volunteers from the local communities getting alongside their local schools and asking the simple question, how can we help? Looking at what the challenges and the gaps are within services, within the school community, and trying to find ways that they can plug those gaps. We have our rail pastors. Our rail pastors are volunteers who are working in areas where there are high levels of suicide on rail lines or on train stations. And they are there working with the Samaritans to help people take that step back from the edge. In fact, I've got an incredible story that took place just on Halloween. A team of rail pastors were out in Barnet, and they saw a young woman collapse on the floor, and she was just basically spouting out that her life was over. She wanted to end it. But our rail pastors just saw this and said, you know what, we want to engage with her. And they managed to bond over Bob Marley. And our rail pastors just played Bob Marley tracks on their phone and just reminded this young person, this young woman, actually, do you know what, I'm valued. Yeah. There's a reason for me to be alive. And there are so many opportunities where God is saying, I need you to go. I need you to be seen, because actually there's something that I want to do through you.
BJ, thank you for being on site with us over the last couple of days. I know you came down to our comedy night last night and had a laugh with us.
Absolutely.
But tonight you're actually preaching for us on the main stage.
Yeah.
So just to encourage you, do join us on the live stream tonight from 7 for our evening celebration, where BJ will be preaching for us. So do join us. That's going to be an amazing evening. So we're going to have a great night tonight, because it's going to be worship, preach, then extended worship and bits of conversation here on Festival Live, going to and from the main stage with extended worship. So it's going to be great fun tonight. But pray God's blessing on you for tonight. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
No, thank you, Ash.
God bless.
Cheers.
Thanks, Luke. Okay, we're back again. We're still in the marketplace. And one of the guests in the marketplace is Clive McKee. Clive, are you okay?
I'm fine, thank you.
Are you keeping well?
I am.
Had a fun weekend?
Really good.
Because you're here in the marketplace with a stall, but you're also assisting Festival as one of our venues.
Yeah.
Just tell us what you're doing at Festival.
So 4 times a day there is a meditation up in the chapel. And then I've been running seminars and being interviewed here and in the Hope and Anchor. So
we've definitely kept you busy.
You have.
We've earned our pennies, or you've earned your pennies, and it literally is probably pennies. I've no idea, but it's probably pennies. You've earned your time with us this weekend. Clive, we are thankful for all you've done this weekend. Let's get to know you a little bit. So my notes tell me Pioneer Methodist Ministry, been in circuit ministry, prison ministry and chaplaincy for over 28 years. Just tell us a little bit about that. Tell us your story and journey.
Okay, so I was an electronics engineer when one day at my desk I just knew, it was an instant where I knew I was supposed to be a minister, which was a big shock because I wasn't even a local preacher, but I just knew that's what I had to do and set off on that journey, became a minister. I was a minister down in Weymouth, and I was a minister in Reigate for 17 years, and in that time Take Time developed through my work as a prison chaplain in a women's prison at HMP Send.
So Take Time is the ministry that you now kind of have. Just on how does Take Time work? What's its purpose?
So Take Time is based on Ignatian spirituality, and it is a simple way of enabling people, giving them space to meet with Jesus. So a few months ago in the prison, for example, there was a lady who was new. She was a recovering drug addict. And I just said to her as the chaplain, do you have a faith background? She said, no. I said, do you pray? She said, yeah. So I said, do you find that when you pray your mind wanders? She said, yeah. So I said, if I can show you in 2 minutes a way that might help you stay focused, would you be interested? She said, yeah. So I said, well, just picture yourself looking out across a great big lake. I'm going to call it the Sea of Galilee. And a picture of blue sky, hot sun, seagulls overhead, water lapping at your feet. There's nobody around, but just picture Jesus as he walks towards you. I said, hear him as he greets you by name. There's a big flat rock by the water's edge. Jesus invites you to sit on that with him. And now he invites you to share with him in the silence of your heart whatever is on your mind. So I gave her space to do that. She did that. And I said, and now listen as he responds to what you've shared. Gave her a few moments to do that. And I said, when you're ready, bring yourself back. So she opened her eyes and she said, that was better than drugs.
That's amazing.
And then she said, and it was free. And then she said, and it was good for me.
Yeah.
And she said, all my life I've been in the wrong place. And Jesus just said to me, today you're in the right place.
That's amazing. So how do folk, if they're at home today thinking, I'd like to find out more about that and how I can use Take Time meditations in my own personal journey, how do they do that?
So it was the women in the prison who said, put all these meditations online. So there are over 300 meditations which take you right the way through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Each little episode is a meditation. You can access that as a 5, a 10, a 15, or a 20-minute version, and you can use them there. Or you could play one through a Bluetooth speaker and share that with other people. Or you could do the training and become a Take Time practitioner.
So how long does it take to become a Take Time practitioner?
The online course is 4 to 5 hours at your own pace. And so you could do half an hour a day, or you could do it all in one go. And that runs 4 times a year for about a week at a time, where we have online tutors.
You've talked about prison work. Where else could you use Take Time meditations other than in prisons? I guess many of us don't find ourselves working in prisons.
Yeah.
Where else can I use Take Time meditations?
So mental health... Take Time meditations work really well for a huge range of people, from children at 5-year-olds, because we run a training course for teachers and school workers, right the way through to people in end-of-life settings, and we're working with organisations that work with the elderly as well. So, and for people with mental health problems, they're able to talk to Jesus and find comfort and peace in those settings. So you could run a group in your church. It could be a short group, for example, focusing on bereavement care, and you could do a meditation in each of those, or you could run a Lent group, or you could run an Advent group, or you could run... we're just developing a spiritual explorers course using the meditations. And because you enter into the story imaginatively, it's a very personal and powerful experience for you.
So a house group could use it
Absolutely.
as part of their processing. Because I know lots of churches and house group leaders are looking for all kinds of resources to support them, because it's tough leading groups every week. Yeah. So I'm guessing Take Time could be something they could tap into and have a look at.
Absolutely.
As a resource. And I know we've just put up the website on the Facebook page and the YouTube page, but just tell us what it is.
So taketime.org.uk.
Yeah, so that is on the chat. If you look both on the Facebook page and the YouTube page, it's there, taketime.org.uk. There's lots of materials there for you to use. And I'm guessing they can get in touch with you if there's questions they've got.
Yeah, from the website, it gives you the email address, which is info@taketime.org.uk. So just email us with any questions.
And it just, again, shows the variety of festival. For those of you that have never been on site with us at Festival, Festival is a real kind of mix of all kinds. Lots of our venues are loud and noisy, but in the midst of that, in the chapel, a lovely quiet space where there's time for meditation, reflection. There's open-air venues. So it is really a real mix of everybody bringing and coming and finding a space that suits them, which is what we really love about Festival. Yeah. It is that. So if you've never been actually on site with us, you're very welcome to do so. And I'll do the shameless plug of bookings are now open for Festival 24. You can go online and book your tickets now to be with us. Clive, we're hoping you'll be back with us at Festival 24 as well. So look forward to seeing you then. But you've got some meditations still to lead today. Have a great rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving us. Thank you for being part of Festival. Hope you've been blessed. And I know folk have been blessed by joining with you in Take Time meditations. Thank you so much. Thank you. When we come back in just a second, we're going to hear from Kevin from Chapel in the Fields. Thanks. Welcome back to the Market Hub. We've changed around again, and I'm now joined by Kevin Johnson. Afternoon, Kevin.
Afternoon.
Are you all right?
I'm very well, thank you.
Having a good day?
Very good day.
We're in the middle of a market Hub. There's lots going on around us. There's clearly noises of all kinds. There's weird bikes.
Some bicycle people.
Bicycle people. The all-we-can people are riding. Do you know they're cycling all the way to Malawi?
Brilliant. Brilliant.
They haven't moved very far in the last few
Will
days.
they be there by the weekend?
They've done about 3 inches,
3 inches.
in the last few days, all the way to Malawi. It's going to take them a while. Okay.
It looks a bit like Top Gear with all the...
Apparently there's a leaders board, but I'm not on it.
No.
Are you on the leaders board?
I haven't been invited to be on it.
Oh, you see?
Oh.
No, you shouldn't have said that.
There's a challenge.
That's a terrible, terrible
There's a
thing.
challenge.
Anyway, we are in the Market Hub, so you can hear noises around us. Then that's because there's lots going on around us and people around. But Kevin, tell us a bit about you. I'll come back to what you're doing currently in a minute or two.
Okay.
But my notes say you were a farmer's son
Yep.
who became a carpenter
Yep.
who ended up in the ordained ministry.
Yep.
Talk us through that journey. How does all that work?
So, I'm born and brought up in Cheshire, and my journey was as a farmer's son. Became a Christian, and from a work point of view, I didn't want to work on the farm, so I became an apprentice carpenter. You might have heard of other people who've been carpenters.
Oh, well, we know,
No,
certainly
know
one good one.
Yep. So I did that, and then went from carpentry to furniture making, and I can't remember, 1990, I think, felt a very strong call into ministry, which I didn't think was for me, but clearly, it turned out to be the right thing. So for the last 30 years, I've been an ordained Methodist minister. Behind all that, I've still secretly thought of myself as a carpenter. So in every appointment, I've looked at buildings and how we might be able to reshape buildings for mission, and seeing buildings as a great challenge.
And I know in your current work,
Yeah.
carpentry's come back into the midst of your ministry. We'll come to that in just a minute.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's lots of noise because the bikes again. We've actually got a number of bikes around. We've got the one that's driving to Malawi, and there's one that's making smoothies. I quite fancy going on the smoothie one, not the cycling to Malawi one. You get something at the end of it.
Well, if you shout loudly, somebody will sort you out. Surely.
Well, the other day I shouted and got an ice cream.
We saw that on
I
the
got an
telly.
ice cream.
Yeah, brilliant.
So maybe if I say something,
Yeah.
a smoothie will
Yeah,
suddenly
yeah.
appear.
Put your hand
Who
up.
knows?
Put your hand
But
up.
you have to actually, somebody would have to work to make
for
my
it.
smoothie,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which I think will make it a bit less
Yeah, yeah.
attractive to
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So ordained ministry, you said you felt called. I'm often intrigued when someone says, I felt called to ministry. How did that happen? Because everybody's story is different, isn't it? That call for you, how does that happen?
Very briefly, I can't remember the year, probably
A long
1989.
time ago.
In Methodist World, I was taking a service for somebody else who was ill that Sunday, so I really shouldn't have been in that local Methodist church. And somebody, as a result, I preached about Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. A retired minister who was in the congregation came to me afterwards and said, I'm not given to this sort of thing, but I really felt during that service a call to tell you or indicate to you that you should be in the Methodist ministry. He didn't know that actually my wife and I had wondered about going overseas using woodwork and my wife's nursing skills in an overseas situation. We had put our house on the market. We were that willing to sort of go down that route. And then out of the blue came this letter. It was a letter that actually came to me following that service. It seemed the right thing to do, but I resisted it for a little while until I couldn't resist it anymore.
Yeah, great.
And so we went into ministry, training 1991, and then I've served in 3 circuits before where I am now.
So which 3 circuits have you served in?
Oh my gosh. Well, they used to be called South Ribble, so that was Leyland. We went to Lytham St Anne's or St Anne's.
Nice. I like St Anne's.
6 years in each of those, and then 11 years I was superintendent in Altrincham.
Which churches in St Anne's did you have?
Church Road.
Okay.
Church Road Methodist Church.
Okay, I used to get to St Anne's every year
Okay.
for Potter's Fortnight. We used to have something called
right.
Potter's Fortnight in Stoke.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, we'd go to St Anne's. a
Really
little
interesting
flat.
place, big church, pastorate, you might call it.
Yeah.
Lots of great things, but actually quite a challenge as well. And I probably learnt more about my ministry and ministry in general there. In my first appointment, I was a prison chaplain.
Okay.
Never imagined the farmer's son would become a chaplain with many folk whose behaviour and crimes were actually quite a challenge to me. Yeah, really profound experiences in both those circuits, and then to Altrincham for 11 years, from 2005 to 2016. And in 2 of those 3 churches and circuits, we did transformational building schemes.
Yeah. So you
I
bring
get
in,
excited by building schemes.
yeah,
How
you
sad is
bring
that?
the world that you were in
Yeah.
prior to ministry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's come full circle for you
Yep.
in this last kind of 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Talk us through Chapel in the Fields,
Okay.
which is your current ministry project.
Yep. So
Talk us through that.
I'm a project leader of something called the Chapel in the Fields. That's the name of the project. The chapel is Sindel Green Methodist Chapel, and actually it's about 4 miles from Altrincham, which is a bit curious that it's only that close to where I was for 11 years. And it's probably 9 years ago I felt really unsettled about what the future might be. It was probably going to be my last appointment, and my gut and sort of instinct was it's going to be quite different from what it has been by way of normal, whatever that is, circuit appointments. And a bit of a light bulb moment when we were doing some godly play training with folk within that circuit. And it came to me, what would it be like if there was a church that had probably just closed, not been sold off? We could start a new story in that building around creativity, spirituality, hospitality and worship. We could tap back into my experiences both as a farmer's son, but principally in woodwork, and maybe we could do, well, I'll say men in sheds, but we could do some work with folk with mental health issues in a workshop setting within a refurbished chapel. So the chair of district identified this chapel, Sindel Green Chapel, which is in Dunham Massey, South Manchester, in the Manchester and Stockport district, and there was still a congregation there when we got there. It hadn't closed, it hadn't been sold. So we worked with that congregation, and we came in a little bit from left field and sort of said, can we do this in your building? And graciously and eventually they came on board.
I bet that's a long story.
That's a very long story. I don't think we need to go there,
No,
but
no,
you
no,
can
no,
read
no.
between the lines.
Graciously and eventually. That's a lovely phrase.
They reached their final chapter 3 years in. So we started that in 2016, and COVID saw, I don't know how to say this as kindly as possible, saw the end of that congregation. They literally died in COVID.
Yeah.
By that time, we'd established the project, and all through it, my feel for it was not to plant a new church, which might sound a bit odd to you.
I'm a church planter.
Was to be a place and a space where we express the kingdom.
Okay.
So the farmer's son comes back to me, where this chapel is surrounded by fields. What would it be like to try and reenact that parable of the sower, sow some seeds and see what happens? Don't come with a set formula. See what happens by expressing and firstly working out what the kingdom is and expressing it. And so we're now 7 years in, but after 3 years of doing quiet days and inviting teams and leadership groups to come and share in the space, using the workshop and reaching out to men and women with mental health related issues, working at the local crematorium, serving hot drinks on various occasions throughout the year, doing all of those things and many other things. After 3 years, people started to say to me, if you did something, we would come. We're curious about what you're doing. Some people said, we're not going anywhere church-wise anymore, or we're a bit disillusioned. My other word for it is dischuffed.
Dischuffed.
Dischuffed. And so we started something just before lockdown on a Sunday, first Sunday in the month. We still gather, and so it's 3 and a bit years now. And if everybody came, I'm not into numbers, so this isn't to impress you.
No.
It's just to state factually that over 30 people come to that. We now do social prescribing, and by that I mean we link with the local doctors in the Altrincham area who have a social prescribing team, and they've referred men and women to us. So each Tuesday afternoon we can have 4 or 5, if they all feel like getting up out of bed, come and spend time in the workshop. And over the last 15, 18 months, that's been an absolute delight to minister around a workbench, to get to know these people, their backstory, and be God's love in that space to people who are struggling in one way or another, aren't necessarily people of faith, but come to a Christian space and experience something quite powerful in that therapeutic activity. And that's exactly what I had in mind when we started out on this. And I could tell you lots of stories of how, those individuals have benefited from being in that space, just meeting other people, but making and creating.
What happens next for you?
Okay, so to give the game away, you're supposed to say, "Wow, you don't look it."
I will do. Don't worry.
66.
I'll be there.
I'm 66. So I've reached the level which I can retire, but you can probably guess I'm loving what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I need to retire, but I'm loving what I'm doing. So we are now entering within the whole Chapel in the Fields project a period of transition, which personally is quite unsettling. It's possibly really exciting. So the powers that be, the management group and the district who have trustee responsibility need to begin to think of how this evolves into the next stage. I've been described as a pioneer minister up till now. I don't know how many years you stay as a pioneer. Things become sort of established and patterns, develop. So I don't know. We will see. Bottom line is you trust God in all things, and if it's to continue, I need to step back and allow somebody else to step in. But my passion is sort of the craft activity and spirituality and sort of bringing those things together. And I think art, creativity and making is an area in the Christian life that we need to really explore and dig down into and not be so disillusioned by all the stuff that's going on. There's always beauty and stuff that we can create and create new opportunities to engage with folk.
Kevin, thank you for sharing your story.
No problem.
Thank you for talking about Top in the Fields. Thank you for being willing to be at festival and the seminar you've led for us.
Yep.
So thank you for that. We're going to be back in just a second. Well, let's say thank you to Kevin and just pray blessing on you in a transition period.
Thank you.
You and the project. We just pray God's blessing on you both.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, we're back. We're back in the marketplace, and we're here. Kevin's left us. I'm joined two guys, Jordan and Wesley. I love the name, Wesley.
Thanks.
Great name. Jordan and Wesley, you've joined us at festival today. You've been on our Orchard stage this afternoon in the sunshine, entertaining the masses.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about yourselves. Who are you both?
All right, so I'm Jordan. Wesley.
Yeah.
And we're brothers from Coventry, and we love singing, and that's part of our ministry, music.
So you're two musicians, singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
Been around a while singing.
Pretty much.
I'd say so, yeah.
What's your church background?
We come from a church called Church of God of Prophecy, which is a Pentecostal church. Born and raised. Bishop's kids, actually, in fact.
Oh, okay. All right. Now you're serious kids. You had to behave in church, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Serious?
Yeah, so
My son always had to behave as well. I'm the pastor's kid. Can't get told off.
Yeah. So it's been in us from a young age, and through church and through worship teams and singing, it's just kind of just grown, and we've just been able to just take it on.
How do you describe, if somebody said, what kind of music do you sing, how do you describe your music?
I would say it's gospel R&B.
Okay.
Gospel R&B. That's what we go with. It's very much, we try and dabble in different genres and all that kind of stuff, just to test the sound out, see how it would sound, but with us singing and all that kind of stuff. So, but our go-to is like gospel R&B music, I would say.
And in a minute or two, you're going to be singing for us.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be really interesting because we've not. You're using backing tracks. It's going to be on the festival live stage. This could go terribly wrong.
It could.
I hope it doesn't, because we want you guys at home to experience what we've experienced in the Orchard of these two guys. So you're going to get exclusive performance to you guys at home, those of you online with us. But before we sing, a little bit about the two of you. Fun facts are you were on The Voice.
Yes, we were.
and you got a button.
Yes,
How many buttons did you?
We got two.
2 buttons.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, what does he mean?
Oh, sorry.
Does that, you mean the buzzers?
Yeah, the buzzer things, where they hit those things and the chairs turn round and all of that.
Yeah.
Who hit their thing for you?
So Ollie turned first.
Ollie turned first?
And then
Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie.
She turned as well, yeah.
Did you know before you went in, if certain folk turned, they're the people you'd want to be your mentor on that show?
We were actually hoping for Sir Tom. And Will.i.am.
So the two you really wanted to turn didn't turn.
Although they did say they enjoyed the performance, though. So
Okay.
And I
that was enough
regretted
for
not
us.
turning as well, so.
Yeah.
They regretted not turning. I'm sure they didn't.
Well, we were on the show, but
So Ollie turned and Anne-Marie turned.
Yeah.
So then you have a little conflab.
Uh-huh.
How do you make your decision as to which one you're going to choose?
I just felt something inside me to say to go with Ollie. And I knew it wasn't me. It was obviously God saying it because Ollie was not in my sights. So I was like, okay, God, I'll take you on your word on this one. Went with Ollie, and it was honestly the best decision.
Yeah, it was the right
Best
decision.
decision.
So Ollie, from somebody who just sees Ollie on TV at lots of things, seems lovely, seems jolly. Is he authentic?
Just as you see him, is as he is. I mean, like he's a joker. He likes to laugh. Obviously, when we did the show, it was COVID, so we did have restrictions and stuff. But from where we could communicate and stuff like that, and he was just himself, and he communicated with us on social media and all that stuff. And
He'd jump on Zoom calls, all this kind of stuff, checking if we're okay, need anything, all this kind of stuff. He was very much involved in helping you get through the process. I was like, wow.
And you got down, I think, to the final 8.
Final 8, yes, we did.
Just what was that experience like? The voice, that's kind of it's massive.
It is. It was a crazy experience because we just went on the show because obviously it's lockdown, nothing much is going on. We're like, they approached us. We're like, okay, let's try it. We're not looking to go and potentially win the show, but we'll see as far as we can go. But going through each stage and just meeting different people and the conversations you're having with people behind the stage and everything like that, it was just an amazing experience.
Because alongside of what people don't see is that there's a lot of people that work on the show.
Yeah.
So you've got runners, you've got producers, you've got execs, you've got all these people running about the place trying to make sure that everything's fine. And in that process, you get the chance to sit down and chat with people. You get in those spaces, you get the time to share with people your faith. Like, why do you do this? What's the reason behind why you do?
Yeah.
So we're able to, throughout the process, to actually share our faith with quite a few people.
That was going to be my next question.
Okay.
Of course, you go onto the show as artists.
Yeah.
You go on as singers, but you go on as singers who sing gospel, as people of faith who love Jesus. Do you really get the opportunity to connect with people and share some of that?
Yes. Absolutely. And there were times the conversation was just like 1-2 minutes, like a good 5-10 minutes. You get to sit down and really explain sometimes like why you made the decision to follow Jesus and what the benefit has been, and sometimes the difficulties that you experience, but how great the love of God is all at the same time. And we're just able to just share with people, and people were quite receptive, which was a little bit like,
it was surprising.
Okay, but people were really receptive to what we were doing, and we just, anyone we spoke to, we just shared,
And since the show, what's life been like for you guys?
Initially, it was quite quiet because we finished the show in March, and obviously it was still locked down. But when June hit and everything opened up, people were like, oh, could you come sing here? Could you do this? Could you? So since then, it's been busy, and we're working.
So have you had a lot of Christian festivals and Christian groups?
We've had
Do you know what? This is actually the first Christian festival. The first festival we did was the Leeds Black Music Festival last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the first festival we'd done. And it came as a little bit of a surprise because we didn't kind of like expect it, and we were main stage too.
Okay.
Just like, we walked through the park, I was like, we must be on one of these little stages here. And I saw on the back of one t-shirt, and we saw our names, main stage. We were like,
oh, no, we're there. We're at the front. We're in the big one.
Yeah. So that was cool. So we had the opportunity to sing at different events and stuff like that, and just be inspiring and share the love of Jesus where we go as well.
So if someone like Leeds, that festival, do you have the opportunity to say anything about faith in the midst of that?
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
From the very start.
The songs that we were singing were like our songs and covers of gospel songs.
Yeah.
So we said, we're here, we're proud of Jesus, and we love him, so we're going to share that
Jesus
with you.
to you today.
Yeah, that's great. We're bringing church to the house. Yeah, that's great. Superb. Well, that's amazing. Now, clearly, I know the answer to this question because I've just thought about the answer to the question. I was thinking, what's the biggest audience you play to? But the Voice is millions, so it's... But outside of The Voice, which is millions, and you guys have had the opportunity to sing gospel and put faith words to millions of people.
Yeah.
That is an awesome privilege.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll tell you this, like, the songs that you're given, like for us, we were given a song, and they gave us one of the songs that we sung for one of our previous auditions, which was a gospel song. We sang it at the end of our set here today, and we were like, they want us to sing this song on the show? Like, we didn't expect it. And we literally sang a gospel song for a blind audition.
To get onto the show. And normally they give you a different song because they want you to have the best chance. And obviously it's not a song that many people knew. We were like, even if they don't know it, we're going to go on with this song because we're comfortable with it. If they turn, they turn. If they don't, they don't. And yeah.
Now, here's this is just the three of us now. Nobody else is listening, okay? Is the show real? Do you not know at all whether they're going to turn? Is it as real as it seems on TV?
100%.
Okay. That's great to see. That was just a little sneak in case they said, no, it's all fixed, it's all fake. We knew we were on before we got there. We knew who was turning. We knew Tom Jones didn't like us from the start and all that.
We had no idea. It's literally blind.
Yeah, okay. So that you've not met them or anything before that moment?
No,
they do it in a certain way so that if those coaches are moving
about the building,
you can't leave the room.
They call it lockdown. So everyone is on lockdown when they're moving. So they can't see
There's no
us.
interaction at all.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So it is blind audition.
Literally.
Guys, thank you for being vulnerable on The Voice, because it's actually nerve-wracking. You put yourself in front of millions of people and not knowing what's going to happen. And just thanks for being you guys in the midst of that, for just being authentic followers of Jesus, which is actually what's required of us. Exactly. Just to be authentic followers of Jesus with whatever is in front of us, whatever's given to us. We're going to hear some of your music now, so I'm going to get out of the way and hope... and hope that all goes to plan. Hope you can hear backing tracks and can sing. So, what's the name of the song you're going to sing?
Go Get It.
Go Get It. Well, I'll get out of the way, and you can go get it. Luke, over to you. I hope all this works. I'll be back in a minute or two.
All right. It's like you're looking through a telescope. You see where you're gonna be. You're growing, getting better. You're not the person they see.
Can't be mad at the things you've been through, cause they built your muscle. Now you're stronger than you've ever been. They can't stop your hustle. Your faith ain't never small. That's what one of you is for. See, you got your dreams, you got your prayers, you got your God, He's gonna take you there. Everybody has a season, and I believe this one's yours. Cause you've been working, waiting, this what you've been praying for. Go get it, go get it, go get it, go get it, go get your blessing. Go get it, go get it, go get it, go get it, go get it. Cause it's your time. It's your time. It's your time. It's your time. It's official. Head and testify. He's gonna bless you. You're gonna bless him. Now God be glorified when you go get it. Go get it. Go get it. Go get it. Go get that blessing. Yeah, go get it. Go get it. Go get it. Go get your blessing. Your time. It's your time. Go get it.
Well, that's drawn a crowd in the marketplace, isn't it?
Thank you.
So, big question. Has Ollie stayed in touch, Ollie Murs?
Yeah, he does.
He does?
Yeah.
Better stay in touch.
Keep an eye on what you're doing and just a little supporter in the background.
Absolutely.
100%.
So amazing. Guys, thank you so much for being with us at Festival today. Thank you for singing in the marketplace. And The Voice were right to hit their buttons and turn. And I know it was Anne-Marie and Ollie, the wrong two.
It's all right. It was the right too.
It was the right two.
It was the right two.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being authentic. Thank you for being you.
Thank you
And we pray God's blessing on the two of you. Jordan and
so
Wesley,
much.
everybody in the marketplace, let's give them a round of
Thank you.
applause. At home, I hope you're giving them a round of applause as well. Guys, on Festival Live, that's the end of our hour. I hope you've had a great time with us. We've loved hearing stories. We've loved hearing testimony. We've loved hearing song. It's great that you've been able to join us in all that. We hope you join us a little later at 7 p.m. for celebration together. That would be amazing. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy Festival. We'll see you later on. Thanks, guys.